to this fight differently? How are you coming to this fight differently prior to other fights after knowing that this is the second biggest fight of your career?
Well, I just think it's first knowing and understanding and realizing that this is the biggest fight of my career and taking the proper precautions. So coming out here was one of those steps. My mental focus is another step. And just doing little things, implementing little things that will give me that edge. I want to be victorious, but not only victorious, I want to look good doing it. I want to give the fans a great show, so I know I have to be in extreme condition.
Are you looking at any Triple G footage?
Of course. I'm not one of those guys who don't like to study. I think it's kind of crazy that guys take pride in, not studying their opponents, but I'm one to study. I study habits, and we capitalize off those things.
Which one of the flaws you see in Triple G?
There's a handful of flaws.
Can you get one specific?
His defense. He's there to get hit. Even though he's monstrous offensively, his defense doesn't add up. And if I can be my best at my defense and be on my A game as well with my offense, then it's going to be a long night.
Are you going to do anything different this fight prior to all your other fights that you have?
We have yet to see. I don't know what will go down inside the fight. The true champions make adjustments if need be, but I know we have a game plan that we're going to try to implement. And if we need to go to a plan B or a plan C, we will be prepared for that as well.
Some additions to your camp, Chris Algieri being one of them, Virgil Hunter's assistant. So what do you think about, or what made it right now the time for those additions?
I just think it was just meant to be. I've always known Chris to be a great guy, and I've always known him to really know his nutrition. And when I see his Instagram and his Facebook and stuff like that, I'm like, man,
Start getting hungry.
Yeah, this guy is amazing. But I never thought about him being inside my camp, and it just so happened to be that he was available for this time. He's just like, man, everything is kind of coming together. He's willing to come out here. And train with me and help me with my nutrition. And, my nutrition can be on point, as it's always kind of been, but he's on a whole nother level. I mean, he knows his stuff, and not only that, he's a world-class athlete. He's been at this level before as a professional boxer, so the mental gain that you get from this is, through the roof as well.
Definitely. And there's a lot of criticism about the Dimitri Perot loss, but people don't factor in that you beat cancer after that point and things like that. So in your mind, what does that loss mean to you, and how did you bounce back from that?
I think the proof is in the pudding. I haven't lost a fight since. Looked extremely better throughout my fights. And aside from the emotional part that I was going through with all the stuff that was outside of the ring with my family, my grandmother passing away, aside from all of that, I was 21, 22 years old. I mean, I was still a young man. I was a kid. I'm a full-fledged man now. I know how to crack. I got that experience, and I've seen the game. You grow in this sport. If I was to remain the same kid that I was then, I wouldn't be here at this level now. So, I think that speaks volumes, and I think people are going to always look for something to criticize, and the easiest thing to criticize is the loss that I took with Pirog. But, I know it's the sport of boxing, you're always going to have to prove yourself. Mayweather gets scrutinized through his whole entire career. It's like, what else do he have to prove? But people still criticize him. So who am I to say that, I'm subjected to that,
Speaking of criticism, some people said you were ducking the fight, you didn't want the fight because of this December negotiations. Can you tell the fans a little bit about the business side that was going on?
Well, see, what people don't understand, and I get it from a frustrated fan perspective, especially when they don't know the business side or how it goes. We fight for a living. I fight for my family. I want to make sure I'm compensated accordingly. And you said it best. They're making this guy out to be the biggest guy. They're making him out to be the superstar. He's selling out arenas. So pay me accordingly. If he's the superstar guy, if he's the main man, why would I not want to get compensated accordingly? If this is the biggest fight that could be made at middleweight, then why not want to get paid accordingly? And that was the main reason why it has taken so long, because it's supposed to be scheduled for December, but now that it's in March, the paperwork was right. I'm happy with the business side of it, and the training part, that's all up to me now. It's my job to get in there and do my job.
And then lastly, fighting at home for a big and dangerous fight, New York. How's that feel?
It feels great. I just feel like, I wouldn't want to have it any place in the world other than New York, because the Mecca of boxing, Madison Square Garden, it's historic, and this is one of those historic fights, So I believe from a fan and from my own perspective, I just feel like it couldn't have been at a better place, because New York fans are the best. The Mecca of boxing throughout the history of the world has been the number one place for big, extravagant fights. So me being a New Yorker is just icing on the cake. Thank you.
Hey, Danny. My first question is, I noticed that you brought your whole team out here with you. How good does that feel? Because I know you're moving locations, but it feels good to see familiar faces. Talk about the atmosphere, your coaches, and all that stuff.
It feels great. I mean, to have my whole team come out here and to have that home feeling away from home is everything. It plays into my mental. I don't feel like, I'm out here on my own. I'm doing things that I've never done before. I have my whole team, and my family actually came out to see me one time, so that was incredible. So I don't feel like the sacrifice of being away is bad. I feel like it's a great sacrifice because it's mixed. Me being a dad too, me being able to see my son is just, it's everything. But, when you make a sacrifice like this and you've been away for weeks upon weeks upon weeks, it just, it adds to that fury, it adds to that, that motivation to get in there and, bro, it adds to that motivation.
And I hear a lot of people with you, they talk about the mental side, but I don't think people understand the hell you went through when you were outside of boxing. Is there anything Gennady Golovkin can mentally bring to you that you didn't have to go when you were outside of boxing, surviving cancer, losing a loved one?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I mean, the physical challenges that I faced with learning how to walk again and going through chemo and radiation and all those different things, I mean, that was the lowest of the lows. I mean, there's nothing in this world, including the fight with Gennady Golovkin, that can mentally break me or mentally make me fearful of overcoming. I mean, I almost died, I'm not going to die inside that ring. It's a different type of, there's different levels.
To put context to the sport, I'm kind of hearing where, like, this is real life as opposed to, like, you're the best at a competition.
Right, it's still a sport. I mean, it's a sport where you can get hurt, but in the same time, it's a sport. I'm just looking forward to being the best in this sport, being the best in my division, and proving that I'm one of the best in the world.
And finally, from me, I know you talked about the snack train. Can you go a little bit more about that hypoxic, all that cool stuff? And is there any of those supplements that you're, like, taking, man? Because I'm trying to get fit.
Well, the hypoxic trainer, what is the bubble, and just the different workouts that I haven't really been used to doing, and it's already taken an effect on me. I mean, I can go 12 rounds now, even though we're kind of pacing ourselves, but I feel really good. I feel really good working with those guys. They've added a little niche to my training and my condition, and like I've said before, I'm looking forward to implementing all those things come fight night.
And are you a ZMA dude, or is there any of those supplements that you like, or no?
Oh, you're going to try to give me the answer to that, huh? I'm not going to answer that, brother.
Okay, I'm next. John responding with MaxBoxing.com and check it out. Danny, working with Virgil Hunter for the first time, and this is, Virgil's a very cerebral guy. Tell me what he's bringing to your camp that, really the basic reason why you came out here to work with him. What was the reason, if you can tell me?
Well, I mean, like I said in the beginning, Virg opened up his gym initially to us and allowed us to train here. But in addition, he helps us out with, little things that he sees and that he can add. He's a mastermind of the sport. He's been around for a very long time. Him and my trainer have a really great relationship, so it's no super ego inside this training camp. It all works for everybody, and the main objective for everybody is to make sure that I'm successful come March 18th.
Explain to me a little bit about that mental aspect that you're talking about, because most people see boxing as very physical, where they're throwing punches at each other. Is it a mindset you get yourself in? Because I've asked Andre Ward that question, and he said it's really about focus. Is that how you feel? It's a concentration with the mindset.
It really is. I mean, you have to go through certain challenges inside the ring, and it cannot go your way. You can go in there and expect to do one thing, and you have to go into a different mindset to, achieve something different in order to be successful. So that focus that you get when you're in the zone, it takes you throughout. And being here has kind of helped me train that mental aspect where if I was to face something that, would be a difficult challenge, I'm sure mentally I won't, I won't collapse.
Okay, lastly now, fighting in Madison Square Garden, a mecca of boxing for so many years. I mean, you get an extra charge boxing there. I mean, obviously you're going to be motivated anyway, but you get an extra like chill and everything when you're
Absolutely.
in there.
I just think it's important because, having a crowd there, 23, 24,000 people, and it's going to be shown in over 100 countries. I mean, that's motivation in itself. But to know the true New York fans and to know my family and friends are going to be there, yeah, that makes me feel great.
Great. Good luck, man.
Thank you very much.
Ready for the Sports Connect, man? I got one question. Been out here for a minute now. You ready to move out here?
It's a bit ways from New York where my base is and my family, but it's good weather, great people, great food as well. So I love it out here. I look forward to coming back. People question my chin for some odd reason because I've been down 2 times in my career. I mean, if you want to question that about me being 2 times, it's understandable. And he's also a very, very strong guy, and he's put out a lot of different guys as well. So I can understand why the questions are there. But it's just up to me to prove, that I'm bigger than that I'm stronger, that I'm better, and that I can prevent those things.
And as for yourself, the questions you have in part of Gennady Golovkin, Kell Brook seemed like he was able to rock him during their fight. He's a much smaller fighter. If you land on him, what do you expect? What could you do if you're able to land clean on him? What do you expect?
I don't know what to expect. We don't know how truly he handles punches, big punches. But if he allows me to hit him, then I guess we'll see at that present time.
Do you think that his chin might be a question?
I don't know. It's anybody can be hurt. This is boxing. This whole genetic thing and this whole talk about he's unstoppable and he's never been hurt, or all this talk about his chin. I mean, it's going to be questioned once he get hit, and by a true middleweight. I'm looking forward to just winning. However that win comes, I'm just looking forward to it. But the questions about his chin, the questions about his heart, I mean, it's up for debate. But at the end of the day, I don't care nothing about that. I just want to win.
And last question, being in camp with Virgil Hunter and Andre Ward, what advice have they give you? Because they had their run-ins with Gennady Golovkin and his team. What advice have they give you?
It's a mental battle. Andre Ward, I respect and have the utmost respect for that guy. And he's a role model for me. I've looked up to him since I was an amateur. And just hearing him talk and feeling the presence and the energy, it's just great for me, and it's added for motivation because, sometimes you can go through little phases, little laps in camp, and when you have these guys around pushing you, and that's what I feel like I was missing back in New York because there wasn't a lot of true champions out there that you kind of rub shoulders with, but being out here with guys who've been at this level is very helpful.
In regards to Andre, does it surprise you his retirement talks?
It's surprising, but I fully support him if he wants to retire because a guy like that who has done everything from an amateur and professional standpoint, what else could you ask for?
Some people feel that he should, being that the clause was in the contract, that he should give the rematch to Kovalev before he retires. Do you think that's just due or depends? I mean,
that's up for debate. Like I said before, I have to support any decision he chooses to make. As a fan, I would love to see him back in there again. But as a friend and someone who I admire, I support him no matter what.
It feels it will be a much easier fight for him. Do you believe that? If he was to face
in my opinion, yeah, I believe that it'll be, I won't say easier fight, but I feel like he has the edge now, especially the mental edge. And, that's very critical for a guy like that at that level.